Yes.
You got it?
Yep.
Okay. Okay, so anytime if you're gonna be doing data research, you want to remember, if you're doing data research, will kind of depend on how you're doing it as to whether it's human subject research or not. Surveys are going to be, interviews are going to be, data research may not be, okay? If somebody provides you a de-identified data set, then that is not human subject research, okay? If you have to go in the records and get the data yourself, it is human subject research because they're identifiable. Even though you didn't record, you may not record their IDs, you got in their records, it's identifiable, okay? So that's kind of the three areas I think most everybody's going to go through, is either a survey, data research, or an interview. If it's something different, we kind of talk about that at the end. So is anybody already registered on IRBnet?
It's Heather. I am, but that's because we talked about it.
Okay. If you have on your computer, if you have the ability to do that, if you have the internet open, go ahead and go to irbnet.org. Go to irbnet.org, and I want to take you through the
Hey, Bruce, you're muted.
Although we're digging the hand signals.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm glad now you can can you see me now? Can you hear me now? Okay. Now I'm trying to get share contact. I want to go to my my screen here so that I can bring up I don't want my screen recording. I want to bring up IRBnet. And I don't think that's what you're seeing. I'm used to Microsoft Teams. I'm not as used to using this as I am Microsoft Teams. So you have to bear with me for just a second.
You'll have to share your screen. I don't know if Dr. Zabilla has made you a co-host. If you're not, then you may not be able to share your screen.
Yeah, I have it where let me share my screen. Website is, okay, so I hit my screen, and then it says because of my screen recording. No, I want to share. Maybe I need to open it again first, right? I thought I had IRBnet open. Let me open IRBnet. Okay. Now let me go back to the screen here and see if it'll let me share contact, share screen. And it doesn't. Can you see that? Are you still seeing me, or you seeing IRBnet?
We're just seeing your name.
Are you still just seeing my name? Okay, I'm not sure why I can't get this. I can't get this to show my screen. I clicked on screen, but
So you could click on share screen, and then it should pop up of all of the screens in the background that you have open, and then you choose the one that shows IRB.
yeah, on this one, instead of share screen, it just says share content, which I'm assuming is the same thing like it is on Microsoft Teams. But when I do go to that, it says my screen, photos, iCloud Drive, Microsoft OneDrive, Google Drive, Box, website URL. Let me try the website URL. No. I just want to share my screen with you, and for some reason, I can't share my screen. Okay. Everything on your screen, including notifications, will be recorded. Okay. Zoom.
Do you want to make one of us a co-host, and we can pull it up and share our screens while you're verbally telling us where to go?
Okay. Yeah, go ahead. Let's just try it that way. I don't know why I'm doing it on an iPad, and I should still be able. I can do it on Microsoft. I can do it on that, but I can't do it on this one. For some reason, I can do it on my computer at work, but not my iPad won't let me. For some reason, it's not letting me share my. I say screen, but every time I do screen, must be. I mean, it's got to be because we're recording for some reason. The recording.
I have an IRB net account. If
Okay, go ahead and open that IRB net account.
Dr. DeBella, can you make me a co-host?
I can do that too. So let me. That part I do know I can do. And for Gretchen, assign co-host.
Yeah, no problem.
Okay.
Okay, let me see if I can. Yeah, got it. Okay, here you go. Can you see that?
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So, so this is on IRB net. I want you to go ahead and log on. Go ahead and log in to IRB net because I want to kind of walk you through the process, and this way everybody can see it. Okay, so when you get registered, and we'll send out registration information for everybody on IRB net, and I'll get that out to you. We really could have everybody do that real quick if you wanted to. If you go to irbnet.org, if you go to the login on the login page, if you go to create, go ahead and hit log out for just a second there, Gretchen. If you go to this page, on the bottom, it's going to have new user registration. So if everybody would just go through there and click that new user registration. And you can go ahead and do that, Gretchen. We'll stop it before we get to it. But you can put in your first name, last name, pick what username you want, password. You don't, anything that has an asterisk, you have to fill that out. The other ones you don't. Okay. And then Gretchen, go ahead and just make up, we'll stop it at the end. Just go ahead and put anything in there. Yeah, put Joe Smith, username Smith, and password. Yeah, J Smith, passwords, you know, anything, Smith and Smith. You know, yeah, and that one, you can leave that one blank. And then, but hit continue. Oh, password's not long enough.
Oh, it's already taken.
A username, we make up a username and it go 451234556. Wouldn't you know it? We try to make one up and it's already a username in the system. I don't know who that would be, but it's somebody. Okay, now hit continue and let's see if it goes. Okay, so it's going to come down and ask you for your acceptance of terms. You can just accept that. You can save it for later if you want to go back and read them, but you can go ahead and accept that. Basically says it meets the federal requirements of 21 CFR 11. Okay, now in this box, search for an organization. You want to type Marshall University in there. So type Marshall University. Okay, and then when you find it, click continue and then go on. And then here you just have to put in your you only have to do the telephone number, and I don't know why, but you got to put in a telephone number. It's not like they're going to call you, or I'm using it. I'm not going to use it either. I don't really have access to that, so I don't know. But put in any phone number. I don't care if you put all fives, even on yours. Everybody can put 55555, all that. But now the next part, when you do your email, we won't go here for this one. Once we do it, we'll cancel out. But you do have the email you want to put in is the one you look at the most. Okay, so it needs to be the email. I don't care if it's a Gmail, Yahoo, or Marshall account, but just make it the one you look at the most. Okay, and then we'll cancel here, but when you hit continue, it's going to ask you to confirm everything is okay. And if it is, click that. It will send you an activation link into your email. Whatever email you put there, it's going to send you an activation link to that. And then if everybody can just let me know when you've gotten registered. And when you're registered, when you click that activation link, it's going to take you back to the IRBnet page. And when you get there, you just use that login you just created and then log on, and you should be on the page. She can go ahead and hit login. Gretchen, go ahead and hit login there. And then you should be up. Most everybody else, yours is all going to be blank. She has studies she's part of there, but yours will be blank. But it will say my projects there in the upper right-hand part of the page. So if everybody can just let me know when you've gotten that.
Yeah, I'm logged in.
Okay.
I am too.
Okay.
Erica's in.
Okay.
I'm in.
Amy's in.
Okay. Anybody not in yet?
Heather's in.
Okay. Okay. So I think we're in. Okay. So this is the page. Whenever you log into IRBnet, this is the first page you're going to see for all of them. Right now, other than Gretchen's, you see a whole lot of studies she has there. But yours don't have. There's not a study there at all. We will create one in a minute, but there's not one at all. So if you notice, one thing I want you to notice is the one that says Forms and Templates on the left-hand side. You have a button there that says Forms and Templates. You want to click that. This is the library that has all of your forms, your application. The forms that you have to have are in this library. So go ahead and click that. And when you go to the library, remember I have two IRBs. I have IRB 1, it's medical, and I have IRB 2, that's social behavioral. So in the drop down, you're going to always have to select IRB 2. Make sure you use the forms for IRB 2. Okay, there is a difference in them, so make sure you use the forms. Now, the very first form I want to kind of go over is number A. Right there on the very first form this is a key right here. If you click and open that document, this document tells you everything that needs to be in a package for you to submit to me. Okay, this is the submission checklist. And she probably have to then share that one separate, or she probably have to come back and share that one. But this will tell you everything that needs to be in there. Okay, so for a new study, here's what you have to have. And it's kind of hard here because we'll kind of be going back and forth. But if you have this document, if you have the ability, whether you want to print it or whatever, so we can go through it, but we're going to go back to IRBnet. But you're going to have an abstract. The template's available in the library. I'll show you where that template is. You're going to have an application. An attachment C is just a conflict of interest form. It's a federal thing that you have to have. So attachment C will be there. You will attach a copy of your CV or resume. It doesn't have to be a big fancy thing. I just need it. It's just a federal requirement that we have that in there. A copy of your CITI completion certificate, that will have to be there. If you're using a survey, then your survey consent will need to be uploaded into the system too. And then your protocol, if you have one. If your study is pretty simple and you can get it all in an abstract, you don't have to give me a protocol. But if you need more, your abstract can only be 2 pages. If you need more than 2 pages, then you got to put that in a protocol and give me a summary. Okay. So the only other thing down there's other documents down there required if applicable. And the only thing I know that might apply to you is the survey or interview questions. Okay, those those would apply, and possibly some of those other documents, but we'll talk about those when we get in the study. But that's the key. And if those things that are required for a new study, that's what you've got to have in that. I don't know if is anybody planning on dealing with children, that your study's going to involve having to assent children?
Only grown ones.
Okay, yeah, that's good. If you're going to do anyone under the age of 18 in the state of West Virginia, you must have parental permission and then child assent. Okay, so there's a lot more hurdles if you decide to put that in there. If you're going to do a survey, and I know we're in the COVID, an interview, we're in the COVID world now, where many times you're not doing them in person, you're doing them on the phone. Then if your study is exempt, if it's an exempt study, meaning there's no sensitivity in the topic and that kind of stuff. If it's exempt, you do not have to have a waiver of the documentation of consent. It says a waiver of informed consent there. But if your study is expedited, meaning there's a little bit more risk or some data you have to protect, and we'll talk about the difference between that, you have to submit that waiver of a signature, because you either have to obtain a signature or you have to ask permission to waive it. Like, I'm going to be on the phone, so it's not practical for me to obtain a signature. Okay, and so you can do that. But that, for many of you, that may not apply. So the biggest thing is that upper part. That's the part that I'm going to go over, and I'm going to take those in order, and we're going to start with the abstract. You can keep that document up because we'll come back to it. But let's go back to IRB net. And now let me show you.
Bruce, this is Seth. I got a quick question. I'm going to be doing a survey. Which one of those did the survey questions have to be attached to?
I'll show you how you attach it in IRB net. I'll show you how you upload it.
Okay.
Hey,
I'll show you. We'll actually walk you through matter of fact, we'll get your submission started here in just a minute. I'll have each of you walk through it.
Bruce, this is Heather.
Yeah.
I was wondering, I'm going to be using Qualtrics.
Mm-hmm.
Is there a way to do a digital signature, like a 1, 2, 3, 4 in Qualtrics? Is that considered sufficient?
You can, but you don't have to do that. If you're doing a survey in Qualtrics, all you have to do is make the survey consent the front page of your survey, and then at the bottom, it has a button that they choose yes or no. They accept to go in, because in an exempt study, you don't require it doesn't have to have any kind of a signature. Your surveys aren't going to require a signature. Okay, so they'll just check yes. If they click yes, then it takes them to the first question of the survey. If they check no, it exits it, and Qualtrics will kick them out. Did that answer it?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, so we did the checklist. The first thing it talked about was an abstract. Okay, so if you see letter F, there is your abstract template. If you open that up, and I know Gretchen, now you're going back and forth here quite a bit, but if you open that up and we look at the abstract, you'll see this. The abstract that we have here is one that I took from, actually I contracted publishers and tried to get information from them of what it is that they're looking for. And what you're going to do is you're going to fill this out. It's a Word document. Just start typing in there. The purpose of the research is what? Just tell me what the purpose of your research is. Tell me what your scientific or scholarly rationale is. The key is the procedures section. That's a key one. I need you to tell me step by step what you're going to do. I'm going to use Qualtrics, and I'm going to put my survey and get my survey put on the system through Qualtrics. I'm going to ensure that Qualtrics does not record IP addresses. Remember, if you want your survey to be anonymous, you cannot record the IP address because it's not anonymous then. Okay, so you tell Qualtrics not to do that, that I don't want to record that. And then you tell me then, how are you going to get your survey out to people? Are you going to blast it to Marshall students? Are you emailing it out to teachers in a certain county? How are you going to obtain those email addresses? How are you going to get the survey out? Those kind of things. That's what I want step by step in procedures. And then the risks, if there are no risks, you just need to state that. If a risk is a breach of confidentiality, now if it's anonymous, there is no risk of a breach of confidentiality because it cannot be, there's no way they can find out who you are. But if it's like a an interview or something that you do know who they are, then here you're going to say the only breach would be possibly a conflict or would be a breach of confidentiality. And then at the bottom, inclusion exclusion criteria. Who's going to be in your study and who's not? Okay, those are just the kind of things that we need. So that is a document. So what you want to do is you're going to create a file or on your computer. You want to create an IRB directory and start putting all these documents in the directory. Okay, you'll put your abstract in there. You'll take the next document was an application. So we'll take our application in there. It's also just down from that. G1 is the newest application. So if you go down back to IRB Net Library, we already know what the abstract template is. We've got that. We'll work on that. The application is G1. Now, Dr. DeBella we'll go ahead and open that. Dr. DeBella will probably send this to you because the first 2.5 pages apply to him only. And so either it needs to tell you what to put in those first 2.5 pages, or he can fill it out and send you one with the first 2.5 pages already completed. Okay, because if you'll notice, it starts out there and says principal investigator personal information. So he has to serve as the principal investigator. Okay, so this will be him. It'll have his name, all of that. You can go all the way down the first page. All of that is information about him. All of the second page is information about him. And then when you go down to the third page, where it says research staff, that is where it becomes you. Okay, research staff is where it's you. So you will start filling in that information from there. That's on page 3, but right close to the top of page 3. And you're going to put your name and position in there. Then you're going to start answering those questions. Now, remember, if you notice underneath research staff there, it asks a question like the third one down says, if on-site data collection is done, will you be on the premises? When it says you, it's talking about Dr. DeBella. Okay, so the answer is probably going to be no to that. He will not be there when you're collecting your data, whether it's a survey or an interview. He'll not be collecting that. Okay, so but just remember, if it says you, it's talking about him. So answer it in that way. Okay, so if you're not going to be on the premises, no, then who will be providing supervision? That'll be the co-investigator, which is you, which will be the student. Okay, will you be on the premises when a follow-up's done? Probably not. You probably won't be doing a follow-up. But the answer for him would be no, he wouldn't be on there. Now, if you go down, you notice where it's on this page, you see where it says list external sites where the research may be conducted. If you're going to do your research, you have to tell me, if you're going to do your research in a school, you must have written permission from that school to conduct a survey. If it's just you're interviewing a couple people, I don't need permission from that. But if you're going to conduct a survey in a school or in a business, you must have written permission from them. Okay, Marshall University requires that. And that's only because we have had cases where people call us and say, hey, I've got Marshall students in here conducting surveys and nobody gave them permission. Okay, so we will require that. We'll require you to have that. I do have a letter I'll show you later in the IRB Net Library. I have a letter template that you can use, but I'll show you that later. But you must list where you're going to get your participants. Okay, if you're using an external site. If you're just using the internet, well, then that's not relevant. This is an actual physical site. If I'm going to a school or I'm going to a business, because if you're going to a place that has an IRB, I cannot override that IRB. For instance, if you go to, say you're going to do it in a class at West Virginia State, well, they have their own IRB. CAMC in Charleston, they have their own IRB. So if you're doing it at a place like that, I have to make sure they don't have an IRB. If so, I cannot override their IRB. So then it becomes a little bit bigger issue that we have to deal with. Okay, underneath that asks, is it a multi-center study? That's going to be no. That just means, are we doing it here and at other universities? Are we all conducting the same study? So if we go down to page 4, it says here, we go into a description of the protocol. Does it present more than minimal risk? Your answer is going to be no. And there's the definition of minimal risk from the feds, but your study is going to be minimal risk, meaning it doesn't have to go to the full board. Okay. And Dr. DeBella said he will write his part he'll do his part and send you the application. So that makes it easier for you. And then you're going to have facilities. Just answer, you're going to say, do I have adequate facilities? You're going to say yes. Do I have adequate time? You're going to say yes. Sometimes people say, well, why would you ask that question? Well, let's say you only got one semester to do a study and you're going to interview 100 people. Then the odds are you're not going to get that done. So we would say, no, you're not going to get that done if you only got 2 weeks left in a semester, come at the end of a semester and don't have sufficient time. So we have to evaluate that. Your studies are not going to be sponsored, so Section B will not apply. You can check no and skip Section B, go to Section C. This is an important section for me whenever I'm reviewing your study. Is it going to be only records review? If you're doing a survey and an interview, the answer is no. If you're only doing records, then the answer is yes, and you can skip that section. But for most everybody, it's going to apply. I need to know how many people you want how many subjects you're anticipating. I know it's a guess, but I need you to tell me because it's important. If I'm, let's say you're doing something that's sensitive, if the numbers are low, it might make them identifiable. So that's important to me to know what the minimum and the maximum is. I had a student submitted one time, said his minimum was, he was doing surveys and the minimum was 1. I'd say, okay, well, look, you can't just base your research on one survey. Okay, so you're going to have to do more than that. And then the age range, the minimum age, if you're going to do adults, the minimum age is 18 plus. Okay, that's minimum age, 18. Maximum age, just you put non-applicable if you don't care how old they are, just as long as you know that they're 18 years of age. That's really the key. If you're under 18, we need to talk about it. Okay, are you doing males, females? Are you doing both? Are you excluding pregnant women for some reason because there's a risk? Those kind of things. Answer those questions. Will they be legally competent? Then if they're over 18, yes, and not handicapped in some way, then yes, they are. If they are legally able to sign a contract, then they are legally competent. Okay, mentally capable, sometimes that's questionable, depending on who your group is. And then chronically ill is probably non-applicable. And pain's not applicable. We're worried about coercion in those cases. So if you go on down to recruitment, Section D down there on the next page, where will you draw your subjects? You're telling me again, where are you going to get them? Cabell County School System, Cabell Wayne County School Systems, or, at this business, whatever it may be for that. And if so, you answer all these questions. Are you going to advertise? If you're going to use a flyer and put a flyer up, you have to submit that flyer. We need to make sure it's not coercive in any way. So we have to review those materials. And then when you go down to informed consent, does the study involve the use of informed consent? And if you're doing a survey or an interview, the answer to that is yes. It will involve a consent form. And then when we get done with this, we go back, I'll show you some consents. I'll show you the templates and things that we have out there. But you want to answer the questions under that. What steps will be taken to minimize the possibility of coercion for the people? If you're doing a survey and it's online, just the fact that in here that it's done in private and they have the choice. But what we're talking about here is, let's say a professor wants to do a survey, but they're doing it to their own students. Well, then we need to know, what steps are you going to take to minimize coercion for those students thinking, well, I got to take part in this because otherwise my professor is going to be mad. Okay, so in that case, the steps taken to minimize that possibility of coercion is possibly for that would say, let's say if it's a teacher and you want to use your students, then we would say, okay, well then use, have somebody else consent the kids in your class, so that wouldn't be any kind of coercion. How long are you going to give them to take part in the study? How long are you going to keep your survey out there? 1 week, 2 weeks? I had a student one time put only moments. I don't know what that meant, but they just put only moments in there. And so, but just how long is it going to be? You're going to be out there. If you're doing a survey, how will comprehension of the informed consent be assessed? How will you know they understood it? And on a survey, you just have to say, if they completed the survey, I have to assume that they understood. If doing it if you're doing it in person, like an interview, well, you can make sure that you ask them questions, make sure they understand what they're getting into. Okay. And then the primary the languages, those are kind of self-explanatory. So we kind of go on down, we can go on down to the next page. Confidentiality. Who will have access to the research records other than the research staff? Generally, the answer is going to be no one. Study's not sponsored, so your sponsor doesn't have to have access. It's generally going to be no. Now, and these next two questions are important. Where will the records be stored during the study? Generally, that's going to be with the co-investigator, with you. Okay, because if we audit your study, then while the study's going on, then you have to have the records where you said they were going to be. So if you said they're going to be with you, then they have to be with you. If they said they're going to be with the PI, with Dr. DeBella, then they got to be with him. They got to be with him. So, and then where will the subject records be stored after completion of the study? That's going to be at the PI's office. Dr. DeBella must keep those records for a period of 3 years. Okay, and then coding only if you're doing records review. If you're doing, some kind of records, are you coding the records? In other words, are you putting a number instead of a name? If so, then I need to know where's the key code going to be stored, which it should just be separate from the records, and then who has access to that. Okay, the privacy. If it's online, then all you got to do is just state that it's not applicable. It's up to them to take the survey in private. But if you're dealing with interviewing somebody, then the privacy, you're going to ask them, you're going to put in there that you would let them choose the place to conduct the interview. Okay, so that we're not doing it in the middle of a lobby or something where everybody can hear the interview. The item H, monetary issues. Will they be paid? No, I don't think any of you are paying people to take part in your study. So the answer is going to be no, and you can skip that whole section. And you can move on down to, I think the next part talks about, that's just the abstract. Remember, your abstract cannot be more than 2 pages. Okay, no more than 2 pages. So, and that's I know I had a student last semester, had one that was 3.5 pages. I said, no, it's got to be 2. So she made it a size 3 font and shrunk it down to 2 pages. Okay, that didn't work. I need you to make it, just 2 pages. If you need more than that, make that your protocol and give me a summary of that protocol in the abstract. Okay. And then we go on down past the training. Everybody has to do the city training. If you haven't already done that, which I think you all have, the CITI training, you have to do that. You'll attach a copy of your certificate. We'll show you how to do that. And then let's scan on down. Let's see, let's see, we'll let it go down. Let's go down to the next page. Okay, let's see. Let's go back up just a little bit. I think it went too far on us. I wanted to show you where you check. Yeah, let's keep going. Let's keep going up. I think it skipped down on us too far. It should be about. Oh yeah, right up here, right. This one, just right at the top. There you go. Part 4. Here's where you're going to choose what category you want. Okay. Do you want this study to be? It's running back and forth on it. There you go. If you want it to be exempt, if so, we'll show you on page 9. There is a checklist. You have to choose what the exempt category is. Exempt means it's either going to be an anonymous survey or you're doing an interview and the topic is not sensitive whatsoever. Okay, then you can ask for exempt approval. Expedited means that there's some sensitivity and you're going to have some identification. You're interviewing somebody on a very sensitive issue and it's going to create, you're going to have to protect that data and show us how you're going to protect it. The convene, you don't have to worry about that because no one's going to have a study that's going to qualify for convene. So let's go down to page 9. And this is the exempt checklist. If you're doing a survey, then you're going to find out category number 2. This is the checklist when you choose it. Category number 1 is research in commonly accepted educational settings. Category number 1 is if you're doing let's say a program evaluation on curriculum, educational curriculum. It even says that. It talks about the effectiveness or comparison of instructional techniques, curricula, classroom management. Survey is number 2. If you're doing a survey, it says in there, research that only includes interactions involving educational tests, survey procedures, interviews, and observations of public behavior. Then it goes on down to say, but you have to make sure that, one, the information's obtained by the recorded so that they can't be identified. So you're making it an anonymous survey. And then any disclosure, if they can be identified, it's not going to put them in any kind of harm. And it does not involve children. You cannot survey children and be exempt. If you're going to survey children, you must obtain parental permission. 3, all those other ones on down will not apply. Generally, you're going to be 1 or 2. Okay, category 1 or 2. If you're going to do classroom curriculum type thing, many of the students do that, then that's okay. That would be category 1. Otherwise, survey or an interview is going to be category 2. Now, expedited, if you check that box, and expedited, if you're doing, this is where you're doing an interview and it's sensitive and you're going to have to protect the identities, it's category 7. It's the very last category. So category for expedited checklist, we go down to the bottom. Category 7 says it includes any kind of research on an individual group characteristics or behavior employing a survey, interview, oral history, focus group, program evaluations, those where you're having to protect identities because you've got sensitive information. Then it's category number 7 under expedited. Okay, so that's the application. Any questions on the application kind of before we move on? Okay, I know it seems like a lot, but it's really not. It's not that. It's not really that much if you just think about the questions on there. And so, so let's go back. We'll go back to IRB net. We're going to look at some consents now. Okay, let's look at some consents. All of the consent templates are in IRB net. Every possible scenario you could have is in there. Okay. Okay, here we go. Now, okay, so somebody got a question? Was that a question or just? Okay, maybe it's just a TV. Okay, so we're going down. Letter I is an anonymous survey consent template. Okay, so let's go ahead and, or no, let's not do that. That's in person. Let's do the J. Item J is an online. So item I is if you're doing it in person. Item J is if you're doing it online. Okay, so we're going to look at this survey consent template. I have it set, so basically all you have to do is fill in the blue areas. Okay, just when she opens the consent form, you'll see that it has all of the everything that the feds require you to have in the consent form for that. See, it says anonymous survey consent. You're invited. This will be the first page of your survey. Okay, you give them a link. They click on the link. It takes them to this consent form. You're invited to participate in a research project entitled, and just put the title in there. Designed to analyze, and then you put what the purpose of the study is. Okay? And then the study is conducted by Dr. DeBella is the principal investigator, and you can put your name in there as the co-investigator. From Marshall University, you know, it has been approved by the Marshall University Institutional Review Board. Research is being conducted as part of your class requirements. Okay, or the class requirements, and then you put your name. So the survey is comprised of how many questions? You know, you say the survey is comprised of 30 questions, which will take you about 10 minutes to complete, or whatever it is. That's what you fill in there. Okay, your other parts, you can kind of leave it there. Your replies will be anonymous, so don't type your name anywhere on the form. There's no known risks involved in the study. Participation completely voluntary, and there'll be no penalty or loss of benefits if you choose not to participate in the research. If you choose not to participate, you can leave the survey site. You may choose not to answer any questions by leaving it blank. Once you complete the survey, you can delete your browsing history for added security. Now, here towards the bottom, contact information is important. Completing the online survey indicates consent for use of the answers you supply. If you have any questions about the study, you may contact, you got to put Dr. DeBella's name in there first. His name and phone number is a requirement. Yours is optional. but I suggest you put it in there. But his is required. Okay. And then you just leave it. Notice it says by completing the survey, you're confirming that you're 18 years of age. Really, on a survey, that's all you can do. You don't know that they're going to be 18 years of age, but you're just asking that. And then it would say on down below. Now, on this one, you'd kind of get rid of that line that says if you choose to participate. Here in Qualtrics, you would have a button that says yes or continue, yes or no. If you say yes, they go to the first question. If they say no, then it's over. Okay, it takes them out. So this is the consent form for an online survey. This is the consent form you want to have. You want to fill in the blue areas, de-italicize it, and make it all black font. You want to make it like it's ready to go. We have to approve it like it's ready. Okay, and that's the consent. The in-person one is identically the same, just it doesn't say that you delete your browsing history. You just tell them how they're going to return, how they would return the survey back to you. Okay. So that's the survey consent. Now we'll go back here. We'll look. Is anybody doing interviews?
I might be, Mr. Day. I'm not quite certain yet, but I might.
Okay, then let's go over that consent. This is then we go down, item K is the consent template with signatures. Okay, so this is the consent form if you're going to use interviews. And you're right, you may not know right now whether you do or not, so we'll kind of go over that. Okay, we'll let it open. Okay, so the first page of this template, notice it says in red, delete this. It's an instructional page. So you're going to want to delete that instructional page when you're done, okay, when you're doing your final product. This just kind of gives you hints what you have to do. Your consent form must remain in second person. You say you will receive, you will do this. You cannot switch it and say I understand, because if you're helping them with the consent form and you've been helping them and you're going you, but now you switch to saying I, then they're not going to know who you're talking about. Okay, it should be on a 6th to 8th grade reading level. Even for adults, it should be on an 8th grade reading level. So if you go on down, remember this page, you'll delete this entire page. And from page 2, that's what your consent form, this is what your consent form will look like if you're doing an interview. Okay, now remember, this is an interview if you're doing it in person. Okay, if you got to do it over the phone, you're going to have to do verbal, and I'll show you verbal. This is an in-person interview. Okay, you're going to meet with them. You can meet with them. University does not have restrictions. Just want to make sure you're wearing masks, make sure there's separation, you know, all of the COVID things. Make sure you put all of that into play, but you can do them person to person. All you have to do is you have to fill, I'm sorry, somebody have a question?
Yeah, I do. What if you're doing the interviews in this method, like through Zoom or Teams or something like that? Then
Okay. Then you'll do it verbal. It'll be a verbal consent. And I'll show you, that's the next one. I'll show you the verbal consent. Okay. This is only if you're going to do it in person. Again, notice the blue areas. All you got to do is fill in the blue areas. It does say, some of the sections say if it doesn't apply, you can omit that entire section. So if so, you can omit that. You know, like here, go down alternative procedures. If we click down just a couple more sentences, it says if they're, you know, like this one, list any alternative procedures or courses of treatment available. Then it says if there are none, omit that section. So you don't even have to use that section. Okay. And so you don't have to do that. And there's other ones, you know, so all you got to do is fill in the blue. When you do this, just fill in the blue, then you turn it to, you de-italicize it, make it all black font. When you go down to the bottom of the page, it still asks for Dr. DeBella's contact information. If there's no risk, there's the sample. All you got to do is say there are no risks. It's already in there. Confidentiality, you leave that alone. There's nothing blue in there. If it's not FDA regulated, then omit that sentence. And then when you get down to the bottom, it says paid. If you're not being paid, you just state there's no payment for this. If there's no sponsor, you can omit that section. And then if you're collecting identifiable private information, that section, then you got to put that. Here it is where you have Dr. DeBella's name, telephone number, And then also call the investigator if you have a concern or complaint about the research, or my phone number if they have questions about their rights. Okay, so this is if you're meeting someone for an interview in person. Okay, you just fill out the blue areas and do that in person. Now let me show you what you do if you're going to do it over the phone. Let's go back to IRBnet and open the verbal consent. This is the most common way it's being done now, and so we want to do we want to utilize the verbal consent, which is item N, as in November. Item N is the verbal consent. And what this is this is a script, and you're going to fill in the blue areas again. But it's a script. We want to make sure you're reading the script the same way to every person. Okay. Hello, my name is, and you put your name in there. You've been chosen at random to be in a study, and now you got to fill this out when you send it. Give it to us for approval. Okay. We want to see it complete, but you just put it. This research, this study involves research. The purpose of the research study is to state what it is. This will take how much of your time. If you choose to be in the study, I will, what are you going to do? How long are they going to be in there? Those kind of things. Okay. So you have to do that. And then you have to give questions. If they have questions, they contact Dr. DeBella. You can tell them you'll send them a copy of this if they want it, especially since it's got phone numbers. You want to make sure they write phone numbers down. And then at the bottom, it says, may I continue? Okay. You don't have a signature, but you're probably going to record an interview so that you can transcribe it. But you say that at the end, may I continue? If they say yes, you go on. If they say no, it's over. Okay, so that's the verbal. That's what you're going to do for an interview over the phone, okay, which makes it pretty easy. Any questions on that one, on the consents? You got really the online survey consent, the interview consent with the signature if you're going to meet them face to face, or this verbal presentation, and you read this every time. You read this script to them every time. Okay, matter of fact, when you read it to them, I would probably put your name. I would probably put who you spoke to and date it at the bottom of this page every time, just so you have record in your mind of when you interviewed them, and just showing that I read it to them each time. Okay. All right, any questions on the consents?
So if we're doing follow-up interviews, say, we interview them one time and then we realize there are more questions that we want to ask in a subsequent interview, do we need to go consent them again for that second interview?
No, just put on that first one that you may get a follow-up interview. So they're agreeing to that right off the bat. Okay, that's why you want to put everything up front. Put up there that we're going to be interviewed. There may be a reason. If there is a reason for a follow-up interview, you'll be contacted for the follow-up interview. Okay, so just cover that all at once. If you didn't and you need to do another one, then you can. Okay, so you can do that. Consent them again. But if you put it in one, you don't have to do that. Just put it all together. Okay, so let's go back to the IRBnet library. There's one other form I want to show you that you have to fill out. My dogs are driving me crazy. Anybody want a dachshund? I got 2 of them. You can have one, and they are driving me crazy in here. They will not quit. Okay, now in here, I want to show you the attachment C. Go up higher as item H. This is a document that basically says you have no conflict. Now, there's no money involved, so there's not going to be any conflict of interest, but you have to fill the form out anyway. It's a federal requirement. Okay, so this is a form that Dr. DeBella does not fill it out. His information we already get off the application. This is information for you. Okay, it's a PDF form. You just put your name, phone number, position, email, position student. That's fine. Email, have you ever been a co-investigator on a study before? Yes or no? Did you participate in the development of this protocol? Probably the answer for that's going to be yes. You probably wrote the protocol. And then all these other conflict of interest questions are going to be no. Okay, it's all going to be no, because you're not dealing with money or anything like that. There's nothing, no sponsor involved or nothing like that we got to worry about. So, but you have to just fill that out, and that's another document you will have to upload. Okay, so it's on that submission checklist. Remember that very first form we had, attachment C. It is that form. It's on that form, so you do have to use it. Okay, so we'll go back to IRBNet. Now everybody's in IRBNet, so I'm going to show you how to create your study. So we'll do it. We'll have Gretchen just create a new study, because we can always get rid of it if it's not needed. But we'll go to IRBNet, and each of you can do this too on your computer and follow right along with her. Okay, so when we get on IRBNet, we'll close out, go to the top of the page. We'll go back to My Projects. Okay, again, everybody else has none. She has a bunch, but everybody else, she has 11 out there, the others. So you're going to click on Create New Project. Everybody just click Create New Project. Now this first page it's going to come to, this is where you're going to enter the title of your study. Now, you may not know right now what the title is, but you've got to put something in there or it won't let you go past it. Just put the word title in there if you don't know. Okay, just put the word title in there. Then underneath the principal investigator, that's Dr. DeBella. Okay, a first name Nega, last name DeBella. And then PhD for the degrees. Okay, and then once you do that, then you can click Continue. Now, was there anybody who didn't have, who wasn't able to do that? Anybody have problems with that? Okay, now notice on the left-hand side, notice your project administration buttons on the left-hand side. This will walk you through the entire process. If you start from the top, project overview, and go all the way down, it will walk you through all of everything you need to do. So let's go to that top button. Notice that button says Project Overview. Click on that button. This is just showing you the title that you just created. See, you put in there, we put it the word title. We put Dr. DeBella's name in there. Notice it says Edit. So once you do find out what the title of your study is going to be, you click the word Edit. It comes back up, lets you edit that title, and then close it again. Okay. When your study is approved, or you will be able to see more stuff in here, like what the status of the study is once it's been submitted to us. Okay, so that's that one. Now notice the next button over on the left hand side under Project Overview. It's the Designer button. Okay, the Designer button, and you notice it says on the page in the upper right hand corner, it says what page you're on. Notice this one says Designer. Now, the library is right here if you want to get to the library, or you've probably already got your forms by the time you get here. So you can kind of skip that top step 1 and just go on down to step 2. So let's say Gretchen had everything ready. Let's say she had everything ready and she was going to upload, let's say she's going to upload an application, or she's going to upload her abstract. So she would go to the button that says Attach a New Document. So click on that button and just pick any file you got. I don't care. Put a file. We're just going to label it. We'll get rid of it. We're going to label it. We'll label it as an abstract. But you would go to your IRB folder. Remember I said put everything in an IRB folder. You'd go to your IRB folder and you would find your abstract. There you go. Abstract template. Grab that. You'd already have it filled out. So she grabbed that. Now notice it. It's adding the document. It's got it there. Now notice the document type is in red. It said please select. So the document type, you have to go to, it has a huge list and everything is in there. This was the abstract. So if you go down, you notice your abstract is very first one. Okay, so she checks abstract. Now she's done. Abstract's there. It's done. She clicked Attach New Document. Next one would maybe the application. So she would attach that document, and it would be the application. So she would submit the application. She would find it on the hard drive in her IRB folder. She would attach it. It's going to appear underneath or above that one. She'll have to select what what it is. She'll go down to application form, and then that's her application. Okay, you do every form on that submission list: your application, your abstract, your CV, your CITI certificate, your attachment C, your survey, your consent form. All of those have to be on there. Okay, use that submission checklist, and all those documents have to be on there. All right, now let's go down to the next button. You would still keep coming back doing that as you finish them. Next button is share this project. Let's share your study with Dr. DeBella. Okay, so if you click share this project, and it'll take it just a second to pop up. Okay, share this project. You have options. Multi-site is, I could actually link with somebody else who's on IRBnet. We don't do that, or transfer studies to someone else. But you're going to click the button share because you're wanting to share it with Dr. DeBella. So you click share. It's going to default to Marshall University. So just go on at the bottom, click the button that just says select organization. And then here you type Dr. DeBella's name. So you just type DeBella, the last name. Okay, and then you hit search, and it will find him. Since it's not Smith, where there's like 500 of them in there, then it's not that hard to find. So you see, we got him. So you would give him full access. You would click the button beside the word full. And then the comment section, the reason what you want to put in the comment is you want to tell Dr. DeBella who you are. You know who this is. Dr. DeBella, this is Gretchen, and I'm sharing my research study with you. Because the minute you click save, he is going to get a notification that he now has access to this study. Okay, he's going to get that one. And then you click save, and he now got this study. Okay. Now I want to go back. I want to try to do one thing to try to help out. And notice it now says it's shared with Dr. DeBella. He has full access. So anytime I click the button that says share this protocol, it will show me who all it's shared with. But I want to go back to project overview for just 1 second. This is the page. Anytime you click your study, this is what your study will always open up to. So if everybody will go back to this, notice on the title, when I had you put the word title in there, what I should have had you do today is put your name in the word title. It's easier for Dr. DeBella if you put your name as the very first of the title, put your name, then dash, and put your title. It lets him know who you are without having to open the study. Okay, so in other words, click on the word edit there, right? And she put her name, dash, and now she'll put her actual title, but it has her name in there. And so that will make it easier for him whenever he comes to look at your study, so that instead of popping them all open, he can know just at a glance by looking at his list, he can know who they are. Okay, so that's kind of handy. But again, we're back on the left-hand side. This is project overview. Remember, the designer page was where we were adding documents. We shared the project with Dr. DeBella. Now, sign the package. You can do that at any time, but you must electronically sign the package. So I'll show you how you do it. You click the word sign this package, or click the button. It will automatically default to your name. It says I, and it has your name because it's registered. In the drop-down, you just choose co-investigator and just click the word sign. Now it's going to ask you for your log-on, so you're going to have to do your log-on to confirm it. It's a safety feature, a requirement of an actual federal requirement, 21 CFR 11. So when you click sign, it's going to come up and say, okay, put in your username and password, and then it will actually sign it for you. Okay, you can do that now. Go ahead and click it. We'll show you how it works. We should be able to see. Okay, see, so that's your username for IRBnet. So you just put that in and then hit continue. And you will notice at the bottom, now underneath that line, it will have your signature. And when Dr. DeBella signs it, you will see his signature. Okay, so Gretchen signed it. Now Dr. DeBella has to sign it also. If he does not sign the package, one, you don't want to submit it anyway. You ought to let Dr. DeBella submit the study to us. Because if he has not signed your package, we will not process it. Okay, we're not allowed to process it without his signature because we don't know that he's looked at it if he hasn't signed it. Okay, he must sign that. Now, at this point, you don't want to go any farther. Those 4 buttons are as far as you want to go because the next button is going to submit the package, not to Dr. DeBella, but it's going to submit it to the IRB. You do not want to do that. Okay, you want to kind of let him say, go to him, say, okay, I think I've got everything there. I need to make sure you signed it, that you've added yours. He has to add his city certificate, his CV, and he has to sign it. Once he's done that, tell him it's ready for you to submit and let him submit it to the IRB. And that's the best way to have it done.
Bruce, I can show them the email that I just got notifying me of the signature if you want me to.
Yeah. Yeah, so you'll get an email. The system's going to use that email, notify you. Everything you need to know is going to go through that system. Okay, it's going to go to that email from IRBnet. They will constantly notify you of what's going on with your study. Okay, see, it says note that the package has been signed on IRBnet. So that's letting you know that you signed it. When Dr. DeBella signs it, you're going to get the same notice telling you that he has signed your package also. Okay, the system will alert you for all of that. So let's go back to IRBnet. And now if you go in IRBnet, if you go back to my projects, everybody's going to see that if you've been going along with this, everybody's going to see that you now have a project. You have a study in your project in there. So everybody should see this one. So hit my projects, and then you notice there's the one she just created. It says the Gretchen Post and the title, and so it's a work in progress. So it's not been submitted. Okay, notice her other studies. Her studies show that they've been approved or they've been closed. They're already closed studies or they're approved. Those kind of things. So all your information on your studies, everybody else probably only has one study there now. And if you click on the blue title of the study, it will open that study back up, and it will open it back up to the project overview button. Notice all your buttons on the left. It always opens to the top button, and you just go down those buttons. Okay, and use the library. Anybody have any problems with that? Was there anybody was trying to create it and had an issue? It's pretty straightforward. So what I want you to do is if you have any problems in your IRB package, remember, I can't see it, and neither can Annie. She can't see it, our coordinator. So what you'll want to do is, we don't want you to submit it to us yet. We don't want to look at it that way. We don't want you, because we can't look at it unless Dr. DeBella has signed it and all that. So we don't want to see that. But you can contact her, and she can set up a Teams meeting, and you can show her what your question is. Show her your screens and let her see things. Okay, so you want to kind of contact Annie and let her just do a real quick Microsoft Teams meeting. And those work out pretty well. Any other questions on there? I mean, you're kind of ahead of the game here. You've got your studies already prepared. You've got the buttons. You've got it kind of working on the title. You know how to hit the designer and just start uploading your documents. Get your documents in there. We've already shared it with Dr. DeBella. That's done. You probably already signed the package. That's done. All you have to do now is get those forms, that abstract, your application, get all those forms together and start getting them uploaded into IRBnet. It has all of those choices, you know, for your document type of an application, an abstract, a CV, your survey, your consent forms, all of that, all those titles are all in there.
I have a question.
Okay, go ahead.
When we start populating the package with all the different forms, does it automatically place them in the right order, or does the order matter?
Order doesn't matter. They're alphabetical.
Okay.
It just puts them alphabetical. I know because they're alphabetical and we see them all the time, I already know if something's missing because I can look down the alphabetical listing. But yeah, they're just going to, abstract's always going to be first because it's alphabetical. Then your application, then your consent forms are going to come, your CV, you know, all of those are going to go, they're just going to go alphabetical. It doesn't matter what order they're in.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. And matter of fact, if you get one wrong, if you have a document, let's say it was your consent form and you labeled it something else, there are certain things that we can fix in the system, but there are some things we cannot, like I can't change your documents. I can't alter your documents, but I can alter your document title, you know, what the type of it is. Another question? But yeah, the key form is get that submission form, that very first form in the library, get that form out there, print it off, and start marking those as you upload those into the system. Okay, you want to mark those off so that you have them all. You have them all in there. If you got a question about your type of consent, you know, and a question with that, or the consent form itself, you got a question, you can always contact Annie. She'll let you email it to her, you know, and she'll take a look at it and see if there's something wrong, and email it back, you know, and tell you back, yeah, here's something you need to fix in it, those kind of things. Okay, we're available. Normally we just have you come to the office, but we're not doing that right now with COVID situation, but we can still work with that. You can work that through Microsoft Teams and through email.
Tomorrow I will send them the application form.
Yeah.
I will finish my part, and in addition to that, I'll send you my curriculum vitae and the IRB, the CITI form, okay?
Yeah, that way you've got it all to them, and all they need to do is just start uploading those into their package. That's good. That's the best way to do it.
Okay. So if they have any questions, they are always welcome to ask you questions, and as soon as they start the project, I think things would go smoothly.
Yeah, I think they're ready to go. Just don't hesitate to ask questions. Annie's a great resource. She's the coordinator, and she's always available. She's got a great resource, and she'll be able to help you. She's the one. Now, don't be surprised if you submit your study and Annie says, okay, I need you to fix something. What happens then is she'll unlock that package. Once you submit it to us, it locks. You cannot do anything to it again. That's why I tell you, don't submit it until it's totally ready. Then Annie will take the package. She will, if there's something needs to be fixed, she'll unlock it, tell you to fix it, and then she'll tell you where to lock it back when you're done. Because when you lock it, the system will tell me you're done, and we'll know to go ahead and finish processing. Okay, so Annie will communicate all of that to you through whatever email you chose in IRBnet. The system will talk to you through that email.
Bruce, I have a question. It's Heather.
Okay. Yeah.
Maybe I missed this because we've gotten a lot of information, and I'm really glad we're recording because I'm gonna have to go back to go through that again as I resubmit. For the Vita, are we submitting Dr. DeBella's Vita or both of our Vitas?
Both.
Vitae, I'm sorry. Ooh.
Both of them. You're submitting both of your city certificates. But everybody who's involved in the study, we have some studies that's got like 10 people involved in it. So I'll have 10 city certificates, 10 CVs. You know, you'll submit for both of you.
Okay, so we also need his city certificate on top of the form that he's going to fill out and his resume Vita.
Right, he said he's going to send that to you. He's going to email his city certificate, his CV, and the application to all of you.
Okay, all right. Goodness, I'm so glad you're walking us through this.
Yeah, I mean, your study's really already there. You've already got over the hurdle of it's created. All you got to do is start uploading documents now. So that's really what the key is, to start working on the abstract. He's going to give you the application. Just continue filling out the application portions. Figure out what consent's going to apply to you. Fill in those blue areas. You know, then make it all black ink and de-italicize it all so that it looks like it's a consent form that's ready to go. And then when you work with Qualtrics, see when you send out the email to people to take part in your study, you don't want to send your consent form to them. You can. I don't recommend that. You get a lower return rate because when people read emails, they don't want to read a whole consent form. You want to get their attention right off the bat. You want to make it short and sweet. My name is such and such, and I'm conducting a research study as part of my course. My study is going to be on this. I'd like for you to take part. If you're interested, click on this link. Then that link will take them to Qualtrics, which will have your consent form as the first page.
Okay, yeah, that was what I was planning on doing.
Right, and the consent form says at the bottom, print that page for their records, and then they click continue or exit.
By
And
the way,
good.
to the rest of you, if you are not aware of what Qualtrics is, there's a really nice gentleman. His name is Adam, and he is very helpful.
Yeah, Marshall has a Qualtrics account. So Qualtrics is free if you use Qualtrics through Marshall. If you use SurveyMonkey, which is another one available out there, SurveyMonkey will give you 10 questions, and then they're going to start charging you for every one after that. But Marshall has a Qualtrics account. You can, sometimes people say, well, what about, I want to offer an incentive for taking part in my survey, but I want it to remain anonymous. The way Qualtrics works is that you do the survey, and then at the end of the survey, you say, if you'd like to be put in a drawing for a gift card or whatever, click this button. That button takes them to a separate database within Qualtrics, and it gets their information. That information is not linked to their survey whatsoever. At the end of the day, you have survey data, and then you have drawing data, but they're not linked in any way. And Qualtrics will do that for you.
Bruce, what is the name of the gentleman who you contact in order to set up your Qualtrics account?
I think it's Tim Melvin.
Yeah, that's it.
He was doing, Mary Reynolds used to do it, and I think Tim Melvin took over the Qualtrics.
What if you don't want to use Qualtrics or SurveyMonkey? You're just going to type up 10 choices for rankings and email it directly to the participants and let them rank it and email it back to you.
There won't be a problem with that unless what you're going to ask them is sensitive. Okay, because you can't tell them it's anonymous because it won't be anonymous. It's going to be confidential because you will know who they are. So when you use that anonymous survey consent, you're going to have to change the word anonymous to confidential everywhere it's in that survey because you can't call it that. But yes, you can do that as long as it's not, if it's sensitive, you can do it. But if it's sensitive, you're going to bump it up to expedited vice exempt, which means the chair can approve it. But expedited is going to require a few more forms. One I didn't go over is an expedited assessment form. It's going to require more forms.
I don't think it's going to be anything sensitive.
Okay, then I would approve that. I've approved that before. That you can just email it to them, ask them to fill it out, and email it back, and then you can take and enter it into something. So you can do that. Qualtrics is better at analyzing it, but you can do that too.
Thank you.
Hey, the Qualtrics guy is Adam Russell. He's the assessment coordinator and Qualtrics brand administrator.
Yeah, and just remember the question too about emailing the survey. You still got to email the consent form as the first page of the survey. Okay, keep that in mind too. The consent has to go with it no matter what. Whichever way you do it doesn't matter, but the consent is a requirement.
Thank you, Bruce.
Yeah.
All right. You done?
Any other questions? If not, I think you're all ready to go. I don't see any problem with the studies. And again, use Annie. She's a good resource. She's available. Just contact her. Robinson, it has 2 N's on it. Marshall messed it up, and now we can't fix it. So unfortunately, her name's spelt wrong forever. But Robinson with 2 N's and the number 1, Robinson1 at marshall.edu, and get in touch with her. Or you can still use mine, Day50 at Marshall. But Annie's the best resource because she's the one who's going to be processing your study.
This is more of a housekeeping thing. Where will we find the recording for this?
I will put it on in your, I'll put it somewhere in the in the Blackboard classroom.
Thank you, Dr. DeBella.
No problem. Right. Thank you very much, Bruce. Thank you, everybody. I hope this would help you to submit your projects properly. Two things that might be interested from my perspective is whenever you create a project, please make sure you start in the title section, write your name like Gretchen did here, and don't try to submit the project. I would be the one who would be submitting the project. Thank you all.
Yeah, that does make it easier if they put their name first and then the title. A lot of
Right.
professors are doing that. It really helps them. It'll help you anyway.
Okay. I will make the recording available to you tomorrow. Thank you.
Sounds good.
Okay, thanks.